This gentleman has had a successful acting career that began in 1986. We were 22 years old at the
Yes.
time. With acclaimed roles in Stand By Me and Toy Soldiers, Mike Filsame, who was just on, said that Stand By Me was one of his favorite movies. He continued to build his resume through his teen years as a series regular Ensign Wesley Crusher on Star Trek The Next Generation and the film Toy Soldiers. But Will is much more than just an actor. He's an author, a blogger, a voice actor, and a champion of geek culture. He currently splits his time between acting and writing. He recently appeared as a serial killer, Floyd Hansen on Criminal Minds,
Good episode.
comic book publisher Miles Sklar on Numbers, and as the voice of Ted Kord, the Silver Age Blue Beetle on Batman, the Brave and the Bold. He's published 3 acclaimed books, Just a Geek, Dancing Barefoot, and The Happiest Days of Our Lives. His latest book is Sunken Treasure. Welcome to the Tweetathon, Mr. Wil Wheaton. Are you there?
Well, that's quite an introduction. I don't think I can live up to that.
Well, I think you wrote it, so you might have to.
Crap!
How you doing, my friend?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Good. Have we not got video of you on Skype? I see we've got a still.
I tell you what, there could be video of me, but here's the thing. I've been writing since I got out of bed at 8 o'clock this morning without a break because I'm just behind on a bunch of deadlines, and I have not taken a shower yet today. And I look and feel like hell. So there is no way in the world I am putting this horrible image of myself onto any format which can be captured and forced upon others in the future.
You wouldn't do that to people, is what you're saying.
I would not.
Okay.
I actually feel bad about doing it to my family who have to live in the same house as me today.
That is utterly and completely forgivable, and we're good. And so the image we have on the screen of you, you're very well kept and groomed, and that is the image that we will know going forward.
Yeah, like my wife likes to say, I clean up real good.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing what a little shampoo and soap can do.
It's true.
So, you know,
and having spent a lot of time at conventions, this is something that I would like my fellow geeks to embrace.
I've been looking at your blog, and you're just a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really interesting because I'm sure growing up in the Hollywood and television lifestyle, you're just caught up in your life. You're reading scripts, you're shooting programs, and you've got the celebrity going on. But for you, this is just what you do, and you probably hate the fact that people see you still as that person, right? I mean, those credentials are great, but you're just a guy.
Well, when I was a kid, I figured out very quickly that when I would go on auditions, I figured this out when I was about 8 or 9 years old. You could separate the kids that I was auditioning with into 2 groups. There was a group of kids who genuinely wanted to be actors. Like they had figured out very early in life that they had the same thing kind of broken in their brain that I have broken in my brain that made them need to be artists and performers. Then there were these other kids who wanted to be famous and they wanted to get attention. And within that group of kids, there was another subgroup of kids who were there because their parents wanted to make money off of them. I figured out very quickly that the kids who just wanted to be famous, they were annoying. They reminded me a lot of like the popular kids at school who would do anything to get people to pay attention to them. And for me, it's always been about the work. And when we did Stand By Me and I came home from a family vacation after the movie had been released, and there was all this like fan mail sitting at my house, and people started to like come up to me when I would go to the park or when I would like go to amusement parks with my family. And it was really weird, and it made me very uncomfortable because I thought like nothing's different about me. And as an awkward teenager on Star Trek, it was really tough to deal with that. There were times where it was kind of cool because like when I was a teenager, I had the biggest crush in history on Debbie Gibson, so I got to meet her, and we ended up becoming friends. That wouldn't have happened, if we weren't both like kind of well-known teeny bopper people at the time.
Only in your dreams, Will.
I see what you did there. But it's been really important to me to maintain perspective throughout my entire career. I work very hard, and I'm very committed to doing the very best work that I can possibly do. I accept marketing and publicity as a necessary evil to let people know about the creative work that I've done. but I work real hard to avoid what my manager and I call empty celebrity press.
Hmm.
That's just like, hey, pay attention to me. That doesn't translate into anything. That doesn't help. That doesn't help get people to see the work. I want to let the work stand on its own. I'm just sort of a way to make the work kind of happen. And I know it sounds like a little douchey, and I know it sounds a little like sort of inside the actor studio, but it's always just been about the work for me. And when my blog started getting really high profile, I wanted really to make sure that everyone understood that I'm just a guy who happens to have a high profile job. And, you know, I know that the public's attention is fleeting and fickle. And as soon as I was joking with a friend of mine the other day, my Twitter followers, it's weird, man. It's exploded like so much.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's bizarre. And I was talking to my friend about it, and I said, you know, it doesn't matter, because as soon as like a young white woman goes missing or there's a shark attack, everybody's going to forget about me and things will be right back to normal.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to talk with you about Twitter. I want to talk about an inch about your past life, and then I want to talk a good foot or so about your current life. But before I do, two things. One, congratulations on being the first person on the Tweet-A-Thon to use the word douche in any form.
Oh,
That's
wow. Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
There's that. There's the douche trophy. So I appreciate that. And can I get
Is the douche trophy like a hacky sack and an acoustic guitar? And they both have like Rastafarian colors on them,
oh
and they're
yeah, man.
presented to you by 18-year-old me.
Boy, we could just let this go. I mean, this would. The other thing is, I know that your followers on Twitter would love to know that you're doing this interview right now. Can I get you to go ahead and tweet that we're live and let them
Um,
know where they can find you?
yeah, I think I said that I was about to get onto there, but
Right, but
yeah, sure.
there's not a URL, so they don't know where to go. If you can just send them to tweetathon2009.com with no hyphens in there, then they'll be able to jump on here with us and enjoy hearing from you for the next 15 minutes or so.
All right.
Let the tweeting begin. Let the tweeting go forth. Acting.
Genius. Thank you.
Brilliant. Will, I'm afraid we might get along. This could be scary. How old are you? We were just discussing beforehand what your age would be now.
I am 36.
Oh, Mike was right. Did you see Mike Phil Same on before you?
No, I've been head down on a writing project all day. I saw Watchmen last night, and I wanted to write about it for my blog, and I wanted to do it right. Because a lot of people, when they found that I was going to get to see Watchmen, were like, "Oh my God, what did you think?" And I wanted to make sure that I wrote about it appropriately and handled the responsibility that I think I've been given with the appropriate amount of gravity. So
Cool.
I was working on that right up until I plugged in my headset to
Okay.
Skype.
Well, he was just, I think you heard, he was just saying that Stand By Me was one of his favorite movies, and I'm sure that's something you hear all the time. So just an inch on your previous life. I think I told you in an email that I've been introducing my kids to the next generation, and they got pretty hooked, especially my daughter, who's 14, is more hooked than my son, who's 17, which really shocked and surprised us. And we're knee deep in season 4 right now. And as you said, that's when it starts getting good, especially the drama and the relationships. But I got to ask, what was your favorite season and or episode? Throw us a bone on something that resonates with you.
My favorite episodes to watch are The Inner Light and Tapestry.
Okay.
My favorite episode to work on was The First Duty. And I really liked working on The First Duty because the entire time I was on Star Trek, I was working with people who I absolutely loved. They were very much like family to me. But at the end of the day, they were adults and I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I could relate to them professionally, and I could sit by them professionally, and we could really, have this wonderful professional working relationship and genuinely like one another. But when it was time to go home, or it was time to like go out and have drinks or go to parties or do things together, we were at completely different places in our lives, and I just couldn't relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried, but it was silly. It just wasn't going to work. And when we did First Duty, I got to work with actors who were my own age. They liked the same music that I liked and the same movies and you know, had a lot of the same cultural influences that I did. So while it was awesome to work with adults, I owe my love of jazz music, which led to my love of the beat writers, which led to my love of literature, which led to me being a writer entirely to Jonathan Frakes, who was like, "Hey, listen to this," and gave me Miles Davis and Charlie Parker when I was like 15 or 16. But you know, I love that I got to be with people who were my own age and we could nerd out about Depeche Mode and Boingo and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think you're talking Dan Nickerson's language. Dan's my co-host here, and that's New Order,
New
right,
Order.
and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
New Order and Joy Division and
Yeah.
the Violent Femmes and you know Bauhaus and all that. That was the stuff that I loved when I was a teenager.
All that great angst and depressing music. There's yeah, these guys get me.
Yep.
Exactly. So, okay, good. I appreciate that. And I'm gonna have to look. What season was the last one, the first duty?
I don't know, 4 or 5, I think.
By the way, now you also the first person on the Tweetathon to use the word duty. So, douche and duty.
Well,
Congratulations.
you know, in my defense, I was using it in a appropriate sense.
I know, but I've read your blog, so it'd be very possible that
That
you
could be a
you
new radio show for us, Douche and Duty.
doucheandduty.com.
Yeah,
There's a
good.
new
Yeah, actually, you know what? That show's called Hannity and Combs, and it's been on TV for a long time.
Oh, okay. That one's swinging
you.
for the fences. I'm here all weekend. Alrighty. So you're writing now. You've written 3 books: Just a Geek, Dancing Barefoot, and the Happiest Days of Our Lives. Synopsize each one of those for me.
Just a Geek is all about the journey from actor to writer. It recounts the birth and evolution of my website and my finding of my voice as a writer, and my like final acceptance and maturation with Star Trek and my place in the Star Trek universe. The Dancing Barefoot is a collection of stories that I wanted to include in Just a Geek, but I couldn't quite make them fit, so I cut them out of Just a Geek, put them into their own book, and it's a collection of 5 short but true stories about being a husband and a stepfather and a former Star Trek actor. The Happiest Days of Our Lives is my most recent book, and it's sort of a companion volume to Dancing Barefoot. It's a short collection of essays, all about coming of age in the 80s after growing up in the 70s as a member of the geek generation. It's full of geek nostalgia, and it celebrates my family and being a parent and being a geek and passing geeky things on to my own kids, and a few other stories like that are in it. I've just published, I am experimenting with the print-on-demand system at lulu.com. I have just published a week ago a brand new collection that pulls material out of everything I've ever written. Just a Geek, Happiest Days. It's got things that I cut from Happiest Days. Dancing Barefoot, my blog, Ficklets, some stuff I've written for TV Squad about Star Trek, my Criminal Minds production diary from when I played the serial killer. I took all this stuff that I thought was some of the best, and I put it together as a short collection that people can buy at Lulu. And I'm doing this as a stress test of the print-on-demand system. I wanted to see how that worked, how the fulfillment system worked, because I've been self-publishing for years, and I've really loved it, and I've loved the creative control, and I've loved the larger revenue share that I get from self-publishing than traditional publishing. But the fulfillment's been a bitch.
Yeah.
And the POD system so far is working really, really well. So it's very likely that my future books are going to be going in this direction.
Will, I've got something that I'll share with you more offline later about there's a new model of publishing that actually takes the best of traditional publishing and self-publishing and merges them and leaves the dross by the wayside. And it's the way I've done 2 of my books, and it's called entrepreneurial publishing, and it allows you to still have complete creative control and earn more of the revenue and royalties, but also get you distribution into the bookstores.
I would love to talk to you about that, because I have found that if you go to get distribution into bookstores, your cut as an author and what you earn from it drops to like why did I even bother to do this?
Right. No,
so I would love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you that offline later on. Let's talk a little bit about Twitter. You've got a buttload of followers. I mean, 113,157 people that you're following,
Jesus.
and that just like that. What happened that it just took
Well,
off?
I think that the recent surge in followers is just because they put me on their, people we think you might like to follow kind of page. And I think people sign up and they're like, what's this about? And, they add some of the suggested people, they might recognize my name as a guy from, that stuff I used to do or whatever. And I can't imagine that a significant percentage of those people are going to stick around. I mean, it's just sort of like, oh, we're interested in this. They may sign up and never use it again. I'm working really, really, really hard to just keep this sort of thing in perspective, if this explosion of followers had translated into like a massive spike in book sales or something like that, I would be really, really excited and think that it was the greatest thing ever. But it really hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just keeping things in perspective, and I'm continuing to use Twitter the way I've always used Twitter, which is just sort of like a micro blogging. This is what I'm doing right now. This is what's on. This is the thought that I just had kind of system.
Yeah, and you're following 91 people back. So you're one of those guys that you're following people that you specifically want to know what they're doing, and you're not interested in all the noise. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's that full spectrum of use where some people that have 113,000 followers are following 113,000 people back, but that's not useful for you.
Well, this morning, I signed on this morning to grabbed my coffee, grabbed my steel cut oats, and walked into my office and turned on the computer. And I spent an hour and a half replying to only email that was business related. And it was an hour and a half of just business related email because I was offline for 9 hours yesterday when I was off watching Watchmen. While I was doing that, I would occasionally glance at Twitter. I use Twitterific and things would sort of pop up and I'd see them and stuff, but I wasn't really using it. If I were to follow all the people who follow me, and if I were to make an effort to act with, a tenth of that, I would never be able to do anything else. And I like Twitter. I like to use it as a way to stay in touch with people I genuinely know, people who I am close to, and a couple of news services. And then I use it primarily, as another means of expression. I know that there are some people who feel very strongly that I'm doing it wrong, and I think that it's great that those people feel that way, and I would like them very much to stop telling me that.
Yeah, well, there is no right way. I mean, Twitter, as it was said earlier, is a medium. Pete Cashmore over at Mashable was on an hour or so ago, and he said it's a medium, and a medium could be used a dozen different ways till Sunday. And
A lot of the stuff that's coming up about it right now reminds me a lot of the discussions about blogging when we were all starting that, and I've been doing that since the early days. I've been blogging since 2000, and I started podcasting pretty early on as well. And I'm hearing the same sorts of knowier than thou, to steal a phrase from David Pogue, kind of garbage about Twitter that I heard about blogging, that I heard about podcasting, that we'll hear about the next thing. I think there are people struggling to get out ahead of this stuff and establish themselves as authorities on it. I think they're kind of doing everybody a disservice by trying to do that. I just encourage people to use it how they want to.
I concur completely. And there are ways to use it for business. I'm assuming you received your copy of Twitter Power.
I did, yeah. It arrived yesterday, and I have to be honest with you. I am in the middle of the graveyard book, and I haven't been able to put it down. So I haven't actually done more with Twitter Power than sort of like skim through it. But what I saw in it was very interesting to me.
Well, I think you might find some ideas in there for continuing to tweet as you do, very naturally as this regular guy, and connect with people in a way that would increase your book sales, if that's something that you want to do.
Well, that's important to me because it's how I support my family. I've worked very hard for very many years for other people, and I've made other people very rich. And I would just like to have a comfortable living that allows me to support my family doing, I think everybody wants that. You want to have a comfortable living that lets you support your family doing what you love to do. And I'm working real hard to be able to do that. I have actually been exploring a lot of options this year that I've never really thought about before, because I just thought, if not now, when?
Right. Well, it's kind of funny. You're 36 years old and you talk about the internet like I'm an old timer. You go way back. I was blogging way back then when I used to have to walk barefoot in the snow to my computer. know.
So I
But
remember dialing up at 300 baud.
yeah. Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I remember when we would send email and it would get batched, at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you could look on in the headers and see like how many different university servers it had hopped through to get to the guy across town,
Dude, I'm
just
right
because
with
that
you.
it was fun.
Right with you. My first computer, which is going to date me, I'm 44, was a TRS-80 Model 1 with
Oh,
the
cool.
the cassette player. No floppy drive. It was a cassette player, so you would type load and then hit play on your cassette player, and it'd load up your program. And when I got my first floppy drive, that single density, oh, I thought that was it, man. I was in heaven.
I went to a Mac World in 88 or 89, and I had a Mac 2, a color Mac 2 back then. And at this particular Mac World, I bought four 1 meg Sims to increase the RAM in my computer to 8 megs because I
I'm
already had 4
scared
megs
to
RAM.
ask how much you paid.
Uh, Over $1,000. Um, I bought a 30 megabyte SCSI hard drive, and I thought there is no way in the world I'm going to be able to fill this up. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. I can put everything on this. This is unbelievable. It only takes 2 minutes to load a game. I mean, I was just blown away by it. About a month ago, my wife and I were in a Target, and I was standing at the checkout, and I was looking at that area where they put the impulse purchases, those stupid little disposable things that you might throw $2 or $3 at. And there is a 128 megabyte thumb drive that is slightly larger than the new clip-on iPod Shuffle, for I think it was $6. I don't think it was even that much. I think it may have been $4. And I looked at this thing, and this gaudy piece of plastic that was next to the Hannah Montana lip balms, and I just thought, living in the future is awesome.
Yeah. That's a riot. And who knows where it's going? Technology is accelerating so quickly, and it's just fun to be part of it and be engaged. And I really appreciate you coming on and joining us. We'll converse more offline about it. I've got some ideas for you as far as publishing and as far as marketing your book. I want to talk for a moment about the Water is Life straw. I'm sure you've seen a little bit about what we're doing on the site with this thing. And what are
Yeah,
your
it's very
thoughts?
cool.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that really drew me to this entire experience with you today is, I have always believed that there are enough people on this planet who want to do good, that by making very small individual contributions, we really can have gigantic, meaningful impacts on virtually anything we all decide to work together to do.
Yeah.
And this idea is initially excited me about blogging. It's this wonderful, it's the cathedral and the bazaar idea, kind of like really spread out even wider than I think Eric Raymond ever intended when he wrote that essay. And what you're doing today has the potential to sort of be like the life and death potential, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it just really it just sort of floors me to be part of that in my silly little way. I can stand here in my office, between writing assignments, and hopefully participate in something that maybe, butterfly flaps its wings, eventually leads to somebody maybe having a better life than they did an hour ago.
Absolutely. And it takes so little. For $10, a person can send one of these to a child in Kenya that has never had clean drinking water, and change their lives or even save a life. And so we're encouraging people to click the link to go to waterislife.com to be gracious and generous and purchase as many of these as you can. The goal is to take 20,000 of these to Kenya in August, and that's 20,000 lives that can be saved.
I think it's a great idea, and hopefully it's a great proof of concept that, maybe twice a year, instead of buying coffees for 2 days, you just sort of take whatever you would spend on that, and you spend it on a person instead.
Yeah.
I just think it's a great idea. I really hope that it works. I have faith in humanity. I believe in the fundamental basic goodness of people, and I just think that it's really cool what you're doing.
Well, listen, Will, I appreciate you. Are you able to see the Ustream? Are you watching?
No, if I watch it, it'd be sort of like being on the radio and having the radio turned up in the house.
Okay. Well, you're
That
not
would.
you're not going to see the flying monkey that's about to take off over the camera, but the folks at home will. So you could just listen in. And there he goes. The symbol of all that is good and right in the world is the flying monkey. Anyway, hey, thank you so much, Wil Wheaton, for joining us here. You are just a regular guy and a very likable one at that. And I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. It was entirely my pleasure to be on with you today. Have a great tweetathon, and feel free to get in touch with me again for future things.
Awesome, will do.